Immigration is emerging as a giant early test of the big Biden policy reset. The White House now sending a team to the U.S.-Mexico border in the coming days. That team to get a firsthand look at problems that include an influx of unaccompanied children. President Biden wants to reverse or significantly change the Trump immigration approach from top to bottom. He calls it a challenge. His critics on the right are already up in arms about what they call a new Biden border crisis. Let's get a reality check now from CNN immigration and politics policy reporter Priscilla Alvarez. Priscilla, let's start. Here's the big question. Is there a crisis at the southern border? And within the question, as you will, are more migrants crossing the border than before?
So the short answer, John, is that yes, we are seeing an increase of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border, and trends indicate that that number is probably going to grow in the coming weeks. Now, as you mentioned, the Biden administration is maintaining that this is a challenge, but clearly some level of concern here, with President Biden asking senior members of his team to go to the border to assess what is happening on the ground.
And we went through this in the Trump administration. Now we're going to go through it in the Biden administration in terms of when you look at the apprehensions, 75,198 most recently. If you go back to January, it was 29,000 January a year ago. It's then down to 21,000. The why? Put that into context for us. Why the jump?
So remember, when looking at this data, we are living through a pandemic. So the fluctuations we'd see in a normal year looked different last year. And critically, the Trump administration took the unprecedented move of invoking a public health law. So what that did was that border agents were able to turn away migrants encountered at the border. So that included families, children, and single adults. So if they were encountered by Border Patrol, they could be turned back to Mexico or returned to their country of origin. Now, this is important when looking at the number in January. You have over 75,000 encounters, but critically, because of that policy, that doesn't necessarily mean 75,000 individuals. Rather, that can take into account someone who crossed the border more than once, because again, because of that Trump-era policy, there was no penalty for doing that. So we are seeing people cross more than once, and a recidivism rate, as Border Patrol calls it, at about 38%, which is higher than we may have seen in other years.